tabletop review of the fun little Walther P22 semi-automatic pistol. You may have seen Mrs. Nut and Fancy and I ringing this gun out at the Spokane Rifle Club indoor range. The video is probably right there in the right if you haven't seen it. I think eventually I might combine the shooting portions and the tabletop into one video, showing maybe just excerpts of me shooting the gun with brief indications of accuracy and reliability video-wise. We'll see. For now, when I get a lot of interest in a gun like the Walther P22, I'm breaking it out into two separate parts, shooting and then a tabletop review. There's no way, by the way, I could do a tabletop review at that gun range. It's just too loud. And then even in my tactical shooting clinic, it's too windy. So we always bring it back here to control conditions, knock out the specifics. I'll try to go as expeditiously as I can. There's lots of details to cover, actually, and for guys getting ready to spend their hard-earned money, you might find some things that might help guide your decision making. So let's get going. These are my talking points as I blabber on. I will again try to be expeditious, but a lot of good stuff to talk about. I want to start with philosophy of use. That's a Nut and Fancy term, and I talk to how I think an object is going to be used. I think that's important because sometimes guys buy things with an unrealistic expectation of how it's going to perform in a certain role. And I think the Walther P22 is a good example of that. That is, some guys might buy this as a defensive gun, carrying it, I don't know, concealed or whatnot. I won't get into the caliber selection. I kind of covered that in mobility versus firepower, obligation of carry. I talked that slightly. I will do more of that. 22 long rifle is not my favorite carry caliber for sure, and you surely can go smaller and lighter than this gun if indeed a 22 is the biggest caliber you feel you can carry in your system. But that being said, I also have hesitation to trust the Walther P22 with my life. That's because I've seen parts breakages, including this gun right here, that had to be shipped back to Smith & Wesson for fixing of the firing pin. And by the way, Smith & Wesson was outstanding, very quick service turnaround, the owner tells me. So kudos to Smith & Wesson, who actually markets and sells these Walther licensed pistols now. Good job, Smith & Wesson. But getting back to the problem, why did a newer gun like this bust and have issues? And there's been other parts breakages, and I'm kind of jumping ahead down to durability and reliability. Excuse me. However, not a gun that I would carry to defend my life with. Never mind the 22 caliber. Do what you want, but I don't trust the gun. That being said, I think the POU on this gun is primarily for plinking, having a good time. And surely it delivers on that account in spades, as we showed you in our shooting video. It's got a little bit more snap and recoil, a little bit more muzzle blast with a shorter barrel, and I think that makes it a really fun gun to shoot. Also, it approximates its bigger brother, and I'm going to show you that one real quick, and you'll see how similar they are in design, and that is the Walther P99. Sorry for the dizziness. There it is. That's the Walther 9mm P99. You can see how closely matched those guns are. And the P22 is the little brother. So if you have a P99, of course the P22, even though it's smaller in dimensions in every respect, it's still a viable training tool. If you own an H&K, it's a viable training tool because, kind of jumping ahead again, the magazine release is situated in the same fashion, that is on the rear of the trigger guard. So, fun plinking gun just to go out and have fun and shoot some 22s with, you bet. Also maybe to train a defensive pistol with. And it doesn't have to be along the lines. Any shooting is good trigger time, I say, and it can serve you well with your defensive gun. The P22 can certainly serve in that way. Size and weight. Like I said in the shooting portion of the Walther P22, this gun is very well suited to smaller handed shooters. Women, kids, people who have smaller hands. You can see how small that grip is. Again, my hands are kind of along the larger size. To me, it's a small grip, but for some other people, fits them great. 17.2 ounces. Has a 3.4-inch barrel as this model. By the way, this is a Walther P22 military model Walther catalog number 22007. Has that cool OD frame coloration, and it does come in some other cool colorations as well. So size and weight, decent for a plinking pistol, but let me tell you something, don't think this gun is easy to shoot, and this will speak to sight radius and just the ability to shoot it accurately. Anytime we have a small, lightweight pistol like the Walther P22, it's going to be real easy, like I mentioned in the shooting portion, to kind of sling or mismanage sight alignment, if you will. And just a slight drift in your sight alignment is really going to send your rounds. Compared to other full-size offerings, maybe the excellent Ruger 2245, which is a 35-ounce pistol, and yes, I think that's really good weight in this type of firearm. In other words, one that I would shoot for target practice. And indeed, in Armed Serenity, you saw me shooting my highly modified Chief AJ. Love that guy, by the way. Super stud of the ages. Chief AJ, I think he's a full-blooded Cherokee Chief in Illinois who modded this gun out for me many years ago. Check that out. I might do a review on it separately. Anyways, this is a gun that you can hit with accurately and fast. Kind of along the same lines, and 1911 fans, you're going to dig this, as a 1911. Now, I'm kind of deviating from the P22 review, but it speaks to this gun, so it plays well to what I'm trying to say here. And that is, a heavier gun with a really nice trigger is easy to shoot. 1911 fans are going, that's right, dude, that's what I've been saying all along. And you know what? You're right, it is. In fact, the 1911 is one of my favorite range guns. If I know I'm shooting pins or plates, dude, it is hard to beat a 1911. Well, guess what? The Ruger 2245 is a 1911 of 22s. Very consistent trigger pull, especially with the Volquartsen trigger I got on this one. Fast to shoot, reliable, supremely accurate, excellent sights, longer sighting radius, fun gun, accurate, easy to shoot. Back to the P22. This is not. It's not easy to shoot fast. Well, I shouldn't say fast, but let's say it's not easy to shoot fast and accurately. It's smaller, lighter weight, real easy to, again, mismanage your sights and miss your target altogether. That's why in the shooting portion I said, hey, if you're going to teach people to shoot on your Walther P22, get some big old coffee cans, put them out at about 15 feet, something that they can hit. Because if you try to make them shoot at 15 yards, 25 yards, that's not going to be very fun for them. They're going to miss, or their groups are going to be so poor that they're going to be discouraged and they're not going to have a good time. People have a good time when they go shooting, when they hit stuff, especially something that gives them feedback, like a coffee can, a big old Campbell's soup can at about 15 feet. That's where this gun would excel. Close-in targets, and you will find that your new shooter will have a blast and they'll enjoy the sport and they'll like the gun as well. Firepower, not really a player when we're talking about 22 pistols. They're all pretty much 10 rounds. The only exception would be the excellent Smith & Wesson 422 series years ago, which had 12 rounds. I was sorry to see that one discontinued. However, this one has the 10 rounds. We're talking a plinking pistol here, so that's just fine. More is better, but 10 rounds is the norm. How's the accuracy? Again, referring to the shooting portion back in Spokane, you can see that the accuracy is good for what this gun is. Now, don't think it's going to compare to a full-size 22 pistol. Like the 2245, the Browning Buckmark, also outstanding. Maybe the Ruger Mark II, Mark III. These are guns that are easier to shoot more accurately with than the P22, in my opinion. However, there are guys indeed that can probably shoot the P22. This size, I'm talking 3.4-inch barrel version, probably pretty accurately. Jumping ahead in the talking points, one reason the accuracy might be a little bit more difficult, never mind the weight, never mind the shorter sighting radius, are those sights. And I mentioned that again in the shooting video. There is a lot of air in those sights. Air is in A-I-R. So there's a lot of interpretation that can go on during your sighting and shooting process. For me, when I'm talking a plinking pistol, I like a much more precise sight picture that I can line up well and nail the target with. But the accuracy for what it is, a short, lightweight pistol, is good. You saw me shooting it into a group size about like that, and that was from standing after I got warmed up on the gun. And like I mentioned, having some target contrast. Initially I was shooting those diamonds. Not so good. With these sights, at least for my eyes, I needed those big old black circles so I could see what I was shooting at. So accuracy is pretty darn good for what it is. Ergonomics, a lot of guys will really like the ergonomics on the P22, and indeed it is ergonomic. It does include an interchangeable back strap that you can swap out. Let me get the other one here. And you can swap that out if you want a little bit more, you know, extension in the heel area. Not bad. The control placement, I have criticized the placement of magazine releases right here, namely in the H&K USP series. That's just my personal preference. Your mileage may vary. However, in the Walther P22 being such a small gun, I actually kind of like it here. And the reason is like I've shown you on some of those smaller Kel-Tecs, if we place the magazine release right here in a very standard location, it's real easy as we come into our shooting grip to accidentally actuate that with our grip, and then lo and behold, our magazine, and I've shown this in vid, drops down about half an inch, and then we have to go through a tap rack bang drill because our magazine's not fully seated. Just a thought, but indeed it can be an issue. But having it here with this little Walther P22, by the way, it's fully ambidextrous, so if you're left-handed, this gun's pretty much set up, at least for magazine release, not so much for the slide release on this side, but not bad at all. Has a straight, or the squared off trigger guard, which I do like. I like that. I know that's contrary to most gun riders. They don't like that, but I know that's just the way I often hold a pistol, and I can shoot it well that way. I've demonstrated in video that style just works for me. Now, most guys will, hold the gun just like that, ignoring that squared off trigger guard. No problem. Slide mounted safety works good. Again, it's a small pistol, so it is not a large reach at all. I criticize the slide mounted safety, specifically in the Beretta Model 92 series, M9 series, because for a lot of shooters, that's a big reach to come up here. But with a little tiny pistol like this, not a problem. I also like how the safety is stiff. It doesn't move off by itself. Not really positive detents. I'd like to hear a nice click as it goes from side to side, but it doesn't actuate on its own, and I like that a lot. The slide release is right here. Also locking the slide back after the last round. That's a big plus in a 22 pistol. I always like that. And overall, small grip again for women and young shooters, maybe just guys that have smaller hands. You'll like it. And the stippling's pretty good too. Nice serrations here in the back and the front of the gun. You can do a press check coming up like that or back here. So overall, I will say the ergonomics on the P22, really good. It is small though. If your hands are large, you may not like it. You might prefer something larger along the lines, again, Mark II, Mark III, Ruger pistol. You'll have a lot more room, a lot more real estate to get a good grip on. How about simplicity, ease of use, and field strip? Well, I'm amazed at how simple the gun is. If we were to look at the parts diagram, here's the manual of the P22. I'm not going to go in depth on this, but it actually is fairly simple to get apart. And there's your parts. It looks like it's a mass of parts. But honestly, once you get inside of it, it's not that bad, and it's manageable. I'm not going to field strip it on camera because I don't want to burn video time doing that, and it just takes me longer than I want it to. But the way you field strip it is you'll pull this field stripping button down hard. Then you retract. Of course, we're going to take the magazine out first. We'll do our safety checks. Put the safety on, the manual tells us. That's on right there. Then we pull that takedown button down hard, and then retract the slide to the rear and lift it off, and then the gun comes apart. One cool feature of the gun is you can actually interchange barrels, and you will field strip to do that. I want to show you a diagram in the manual for that, super quick. And the way that barrel interchange works is once you have the slide off, the recoil spring off, you can actually take off a muzzle protector. It's called the barrel nut, and what that does is it pulls a barrel sleeve off the inner barrel. This is actually our barrel right here. I don't know why I'm using that plastic. Let's use something cool as a pointer. Soggy, just here we go. Right there. That's the actual barrel, and then it will pull out of the receiver to the rear, and you can swap in a longer barrel and they make that, what is it, a 5-inch barrel that you can swap in for the P22. So that's kind of cool. Just keep that in mind. And then the gun goes back together fairly easily. The only thing you need to watch out about is the recoil spring in the center of the gun, or the gun down here. You need this little polymer rod going through this hole here to put the gun back together. The manual talks about that. That's all the detail I want to go in on that, but just be advised. Incidentally, it has that darn magazine disconnect. You know, in other words, we cannot pull the trigger with the magazine out of the gun. I hate this in any gun. I don't care if it's a plinker, a defensive pistol. I just hate it. It also adds complexity to a minor degree of the trigger mechanism. I just don't like it. So anyways, keep that in mind. Ease of use. One thing, again, getting back to the POU, this gun is a really good training tool for a semi-automatic pistol, and you can do it inexpensively. It has the same battery of arms that a lot of semi-automatic pistols do. Granted, the magazine release might be a little bit different, but maybe your your defensive pistol has a safety on it. Frame-mounted, Taurus are like that, Beretta are like that, and then a magazine release. So your new shooter can practice loading, putting a magazine in, learning the safety of or the battery of arms for a semi-automatic pistol to check and chamber around. Also in this gun, and I think this is a little bit hokey, it says this is a chamber or loaded round indicator. All it is a cutout in the top of the frame, and then you're supposed to look at the rear of the barrel and you can see the cartridge in there. I think it's kind of hokey. Guys, just always make sure you treat a gun like it's loaded. Enough. Sorry, battery died. I'll join those two clips. On to accessories and versatility. This is an area where the Walther P22 actually excels. I don't know if they're still doing this, but a few years ago they had this really cool case, form-fitted foam in it. Nice. Gun fits right in. Along with that, you get an interchangeable backstrap, as previously mentioned. You get your mounting pin. That's how you're going to put the pistol back together after field stripping, and it prevents bending of that recoil spring. Very necessary. Spanner wrench for barrel interchanges. Got this feature, which is actually mandated in several locales, and that is a trigger locking mechanism. Walther does it on the side of the frame. You put your key in here, rotate it. If you do lock your gun up that way, don't lose your wrench. By the way, I'm a big advocate of just gun safety, not hokey locking mechanisms that add complexity and cost to our guns. But I can't change the world. A lot of guns come with them, just about all pistols nowadays, so that's that. Also, you get some interchangeable front sight inserts to adjust your point of impact. At least this one came with that, the model 22007. So not bad. A lot of versatility. Also, I'm not going to show you, but you can get a 5-inch barrel and put that on your P22, and it has a compensator. It increases your sight radius a little bit, and the model number on that, I think, is 06. It's 22006, I think. So a lot of versatility for the gun, for what it is. How about value? I'm going to say it's about on par with maybe a Ruger 2245. And if I had to choose, and guys will inevitably ask me, well, which one would you choose, a P22 or a 2245? And I'm going to say they're roughly going to be the same cost, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less. There's a lot of models of P22. There's a lot of models of 2245. So we can't just say they're always going to be the same cost. For my money, I will choose a 2245 if that's going to be my only 22 pistol. It's easier to shoot with, has a longer sight radius, it's more durable, more accurate. Maybe not quite as much fun. If you think the recoil and blast are fun in a 22, I do. I think it makes it fun, and it more closely approximates maybe some 9mm or 40 cal service pistols. So for my money, 2245 or a Ruger Mark II, Mark III, Browning Buckmark, I would choose all of those guns over the P22 if that was my only 22 pistol. That's because this is a smaller gun. It doesn't fit my hand quite as well, not quite as durable, and that'll go to track record and reliability. Let me back up a little bit on reliability. With your P22, by the way, and I did mention this in the shooting portion, you want to feed it some high quality rounds along the lines of these CCI Mini Mag solids. I like the solids, not the hollow points. And you will find your gun your P22 will function a lot better if you have a good grip and you hold it firmly. And keep it lubricated. Sometimes in cold weather with lower quality ammo, your P22 is going to jam. But with a good quality ammo like the CCI Mini Mags, dude, you shouldn't have any problems. I do not think it's on the same level of the Rugers or the Buckmarks for durability overall. I just don't. And I've seen a lot of breakages in P20. I shouldn't say a lot. Some breakages in the P22s, which caused me just a little bit alarm. Won't get into any more than that. So the track record actually has proven itself quite well for what it is. It is a very fun pistol. I've talked to all these points here. Lightweight, ergonomic. It's a good training and plinking pistol for newer shooters. I think they will love it. Don't try to engage targets at 25 yards, 25 meters. You'll have a lot more success close in with the P22. But if you shoot within its design constraints, I think you'll dig it a lot. This is Nut N Fancy signing off. Thanks for subscribing, the good ratings. That keeps me chugging along. We'll talk to you soon. We got a lot more cool vids planned here at the Nut N Fancy Project. See ya.